Reviewing the Supreme that's not a Supreme. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. No, it's not the new Supremes coming in 2023. We talked about that leak in this episode. This is one of the Guitar of the Week series guitars. So if you don't know what that is, in the year 2007, Gibson went insane with 47 limited edition models. You can check in on all of those in this episode, but there were 400 made of each model. Some of them cooler than others. This one is special because it's part of the Supreme family, which if you're not familiar with what that means, we'll dig into that here in a second. And if we're being completely honest here, this was always my least favorite Supreme, but it kind of grew on me over the years because I found out it was part of the Guitar of the Week series. But inside here, let's get rid of this case shroud to see what we're working with here. It's the Autumnburst Supreme. Now I say it's the least Supreme-y Supreme because, yeah, it's got the flame top, it's got the flame back, it's bigger than a regular Les Paul, but the fretboard, there's no Super 400 inlays. And in my opinion, that's always what made the Supreme so cool. So taking away the inlays and just having an unadorned ebony fretboard just makes you go, huh, it's kind of boring in comparison. But I actually found out there is a hidden spec on these that not a lot of people talk about. This isn't just any ebony fretboard, it is factory spec'd as a figured ebony fretboard. I had never really heard of that until about a year ago. And sometimes I see tooling marks on ebony boards and I question, is that what that is? But no, now that we have a confirmed figured ebony, we know what we're looking for here. It's just like that flame figuring pattern. It's really hard to see, and hopefully once I clean this thing up, it'll look a little bit nicer. But it still retains our gold fret wire. Those aren't oxidized frets or anything. But another reason why I've never been the biggest fan of this is they tend to have the worst tops out of all Supremes. You can take a look at some of these beautiful Supremes that you can find online. They are phenomenal. Or check out my 125th anniversary Les Paul Supreme from 2019, the current last produced Supreme, and like, just look at the back on this thing. It's absolutely ridiculous. You can find some really nice ones. And that's not saying that these are terrible. I mean, they've got good flame tops. They just don't seem to be quite as good as other Supremes. And maybe it's just because the finish is so dark. But other than that, it really just comes down to the limited edition Autumnburst finish that they did. And it's such a dark hue, it doesn't really help show off that flame figuring the best. So just like all the other Guitar of the Weeks, 400 of these exist, which is quite a few when it comes to Supremes. But now let's talk about what makes a Supreme, in case this is the first time you've seen one. So it's got the carved maple top, but the back is also carved, which makes this a thicker guitar than normal. Notice there's no back plates on this one, and you do not have any type of F-holes to fish the electronics through. So how do they wire these things? They have an enlarged output jack plate that they fish it all through. So for that reason, these are a little bit trickier to work on should you want to modify a Supreme. But to help you visualize, here's a regular Les Paul Standard from 2004. Side by side, yeah, you can tell just how chunkier the Supreme is. So these are usually better for somebody who likes the archtop guitars and have always found that a Les Paul is just a little bit too small for them because the slightly more chunky body mixed with them being chambered makes them feel much larger than a regular Les Paul. And as long as you go into a Supreme thinking that, you're probably going to enjoy it. If you go into it thinking it's just a really fancy flamed back Les Paul, you're probably going to be a little bit disappointed. If you want that, find a Super Custom. Those things have the figured back without being chambered and big bodied and all that. But this model was first introduced in the year 2003, and they've been in production off and on, and have had various spec changes. Like in 2015, it looks nothing like the original Supremes, with the floating mini humbuckers actually having F-holes. Then the last produced Supreme as of right now is the 2019 125th anniversary. They never finished that run, but you can learn that story in this episode. But as we talked about in that rumor episode, sometime in 2023 we're supposed to see these things get returned, so I thought it'd be appropriate to re-review a slightly more normal Supreme. So this Autumnburst Supreme was Guitar of the Week number 9. However, there was another Guitar of the Week Supreme. It was week 22. What made that one interesting is it had a gold finish and had the carved mahogany back. So it was very unsupreme in itself, and it looks very similar to the later 90th Les Paul Birthday Supreme model, but that one had Les Paul's signature on it, had a special 90th inlay on the fretboard, and there have been other gold top Supremes made since then that don't have the carved maple back. So therefore, week number 9 Autumnburst is true truly unique. Whereas our other gold one, there are alternatives out there, but if you're collecting Supremes, you'll probably want one of each anyway. But another cool thing about the original era Supremes is they have these very fancy crushed velvet interior cases. I mean, this looks pretty cool. It's ultra soft. They have a super premium handle on them. You can see it's chain linked to it. You don't have to worry about that thing falling off. It is still within the era that they had the combo locks. It's got the double premium neck rest, super spacious cavity to store your case candy and other things. These are definitely some of my favorite 2000s era cases because on the outside, they really don't look that different. But to learn more about this Guitar of the Week beauty, let's go ahead and throw it on the workbench to take an individual look at its parts and specs. Inside our big-bellied friend here, let's see what kind of pickups we're rocking. Neck position, Mystery Gibson USA. Bridge position, also Mystery Gibson USA. But our readings within the circuit say 13.72 k ohms in the bridge, 7.78 in the neck. Middle position just for fun, 4.96, so that tells us it matches the spec sheets of a 490R 498T. It's the exact same pickups that they used in Les Paul Customs and studios since the early 90s. I actually like this set, but some people don't. But here's our neck pickup cavity. It says AB for Autumnburst. Check out how deep that center block goes. It's just ridiculous. From the end of the pickup route all the way to the bottom, it's 1.64 inches deep. And from the top of the guitar to the bottom, it's about 2.3. But using our bridge pickup cavity tells us probably about how thick one of these things is, 2.5 inches or so. Check out the lead length on these pickups. They definitely left themselves room to work with to get everything where it's supposed to be. But our bridge pickup cavity says LPSU, likely for Les Paul Supreme. And you can see our maple top joining onto that mahogany body right there. Bridge and tailpiece wise, it's just your regular Nashville style. It looks like this and has the PW branding back here. And then it's a full weight gold tailpiece. No poker chip on this model, stocked from the factory. You just have your regular toggle switch, 3-way in style, and then you can see our beautiful flames. After I polished it up, it came to life a little bit, but wait till you see the back. I would say the back's actually better than the top, which just happens to be a running theme of all the Supremes in my collection right now. But you've got your regular 2 volumes, 2 tones. We do have some internal cracking within our plastic knobs. But this thing cleaned up great. I'm not seeing a lot of wear. I've been waiting a long time for a clean one of these. However, unfortunately, there's one thing wrong with this, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. So it's got the mahogany neck and the curly ebony fretboard as we talked about earlier. It cleaned up okay, but now you really don't see the curliness. Like, it's there, but you really have to appreciate this in person. I can understand why curly ebony does not get used a lot. It's not as fancy and easy to view as like a figured maple top or a flamed maple fretboard. We've got 22 golden frets with a 12-inch fretboard radius with a 24 3/4-inch scale length and a nut that measures 1.71 inches. That increases to 2.096 by the 12th. First fret neck depth 0.88 and by the 12th an even 1. There's a look at that on the first fret and the 12th fret with our contour gauge. Just a nice rounded C shape. But now the sin. Somebody replaced the nut on this guitar. They did a pretty good job. Like, they tried to fake it to make it look like it's the original by adding a little bit of color towards the end. But unfortunately, no, it's not stock. Which really just frustrates me because otherwise this one is like perfect. So I'm gonna hold it in my collection until maybe, just maybe, I find a different one because I got an okay deal on this. I think I can live with a replaced nut. But now moving on to our beautiful headstock. Truss rod's looking perfect. The original run Supremes have these Les Paul engraved truss rod cover. And don't forget about our beautiful Supreme globe inlay. So it's the world underneath all that, done up in abalone, and what looks like brass or some other metal. That's actually really cool. That's probably why they stopped doing those. But then you've got Supreme inlaid in mother of pearl on top of that, so just a whole bunch of stuff going on there. But as per usual, you get the shrinking lines around where they put the inlays in the headstock. That's how you know it's a real Gibson. The Supreme is one of the most faked models, or at least it used to be, because back when these were in production, they were one of the most expensive Gibson USA guitars made. Take a look at the back now, it just came to life. I really do think it is just this finish doesn't play too well with the flame figuring, it just kind of drowns it out. The camera actually kind of has problems showing the true color, but this is a gorgeous back, I love it, nice and wavy. And thankfully, not all chewed up by buckle rash or anything like that. And a regular Les Paul is about 2 inches thick. The Supreme is about 2 1/4. But remember, that's not accounting the top of the belly here and the top of the belly there. It's probably close to 3 inches, everything considered, because it's got the big belly and the big belly on the back. But it's time to take a look inside a Supreme. We're gonna have to get the endoscope out. We'll just gently slide this aside and take a peek. So here we can see all of our pots. It's kind of interesting how they mount them like that, so they stick up a little bit further over here. But inside here we have some sort of a center block, and it does appear to completely seal off. So there are 2 separate chambers on these Supremes. And then this cavity appears to end right where the bridge pickup leads into this cavity. So interesting, it's not as big as I had initially thought. So that means we can't actually access the other chamber. It seems to just be an area right here. I thought for sure it'd go all the way up. So it's not like the Elegance and Catalina's chambering style. For this 2007 run anyways. And now our strap buttons, all your regular locations. Here's something I've always liked about Supremes. They have 3-ply binding on the back. You don't see that on Gibson electric guitars too often. Usually arch tops and semi-hollows get it. But the top still has the regular Les Paul custom style 7-ply. Moving on from our body, we've got the neck. I've never really liked the fact that it's just a bursted heel and then the rest was just left alone, but now that I've had it in person, I really like this dark red color here. It's not the usual cherry finish. It might look that way in the camera, but in person, it's more of like a burnt orange, which matches the rest of the guitar before they made it full-on Autumnburst. So if you're like me and you've never been a big fan of this exact finish, maybe just see if you can find one in person before you judge it. Collectability aside, if I was asked between this and a regular Supreme, I'd probably still go a regular one, but I'm really happy to have this one in my collection because it's part of the Guitar of the Week. So it's another one we can cross off our list. But we've got the gold Grover tuners, and our serial number dating this one to the 59th day of 2007. Initial batch 546 is its production number, made in USA. Quick blacklight test just for fun. We're looking for evenness in the finish, so if there are any touch-ups or small area refinishes, nicks and dings, stand rash marks, this test can help you see that stuff. So everything looks good on the top. Everything looks fine on our headstock too. Moving on to the back. Speaking of stand rash marks, yeah, there must be something that reacted to the lacquer a little bit there, but thankfully it's a dark color finish. You don't see that in normal lighting situations. I really like this evil glow burst. That's pretty cool. But moving up the back of the neck, I think I forgot to point that out. There's like 2 small blemishes right here on the neck. But other than that, I really did not see too much wrong condition-wise on this one. Pretty nice find overall. This right here looks like somebody might have had a capo or a clip-on tuner that slightly reacted with the finish. All said and done, this one weighs 8 pounds, 14.7 ounces. Let's go ahead and hear how the Autumnburst sounds. Now that we know all about the guitar of the week, Autumnburst Supreme, what are my final thoughts on this thing? It's one of those ones that will slightly grow on you, even if you're not a big fan of it to begin with. I mean, the figured ebony fretboard, there's probably a reason why most people don't realize it's figured. You really have to see it in person to really even appreciate most of it. But if you're a big fan of bare fretboards that don't have any inlays on them, you're going to like this guitar. It has a very orchestral vibe to it, but yet you've got this cool Autumnburst finish. Depending on your definition of fancy, it might not be as over the top as some of the other Supremes out there. But if you like the color, and you like the fact that it's a limited edition guitar, I think you should try one. Otherwise, it's not really that different from other Supremes if you can find a better deal on one of those. I wouldn't necessarily suggest paying a premium for one of these, because you gotta remember, there weren't all that many Supremes made. This being a limited edition of 400, I would actually argue there's probably more of these than some other colors out there. But this is a nice posted limited edition, so it'll always have some significance in that aspect, being part of Guitar of the Week. Alright, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day. And you might even enjoy this next one.